everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this card using the Daisy Meadows scrapbooking stamp set. And I'm going to use most of the floral and butterfly icons in that stamp set. I'm also going to use In Your Time of Need, the Thinking of You sentiment, and then the heart border from Seasonal Borders. And I'm going to use some of the mix-in papers. So I've mounted the butterfly in my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp on watercolor cardstock. This is the smooth side of the Tim Holtz watercolor paper, and I'm going to stamp out my butterfly in black ink, and then I'm going to stamp it again using Versamark ink. And I'm going to clear emboss over that black ink to lock it in on the watercolor paper. Okay, so I'm going to sprinkle the Versamark with clear embossing powder and then tap it off and heat it up and melt that embossing powder with my heat tool. So that locks the black ink in on the watercolor paper, so I can continue on with the next step. So I'm going to use Nuvo shimmer powders. I'm going to use Solar Flare and Catherine Wheel. I'm going to tap out some of these powders onto the butterfly, and then I'm going to spritz it with water. And that's why I needed to clear emboss over the black so that the image would not run once I spritzed it with water. So I'm going to set that aside to dry. The powders just do their own thing and don't try to help it along, just let it dry. And while that's going on, I'm going to stamp out some of my images to make my cluster, my embellishment cluster at the top of my card. So I'm going to use wisteria cardstock and some fern cardstock and white daisy. So first I'm going to start with white daisy and black ink. And I'm going to stamp out some of these floral and leaf images. And then I'm going to be coloring these and using the tri-blend markers, and then I'll cut them out with the coordinating thin cuts. So I'm just stamping out a whole bunch of these so that I have a variety of embellishments to work with when I start putting my card together. Okay, so I've got fern cardstock. I'm going to stamp on the light side of fern with fern ink. And then I'll be cutting this out too. So I think 3 is enough. And then I've got this border stamp. It's got little hearts from Seasonal Borders. And I'm going to stamp a line of hearts using grape ink on wisteria cardstock. It's the light side of wisteria. Got some scratch paper to catch that excess ink that goes over the edge there. So I'm going to make a border strip. I didn't like any of the pattern papers, so I'm going to create my own. Okay, so now I'm going to color in my flowers with some tri-blend markers. And I will skip ahead in a second. It's just basic coloring in. Okay, so now I have colored everything in and cut everything out, and there's that butterfly. Looks so cool with that shimmer powder. It's sparkly and shimmery. And I'm going to fussy cut this flower. I apologize. I didn't realize I was off screen here, off camera here. So anyway, I fussy cut the large flower off of that so that I could have my butterfly sit on those leaves. Okay, so now I'm going to do a wash of color. This is Tim Holtz Oxide ink in mustard seed. And I'm just doing a wash of color at the top portion of the card. And this will be behind my cluster of embellishments. And then I'm going to spritz it with some of this Sukaniko shimmer spray just to give it a little shine and shimmer. Okay, so now I've cut this mix-in paper at 3 inches by 4 1/4. and I'm going to stamp out my sentiment on it. It says, "Thinking of you," stamping that in black ink. And that will go at the bottom of my card. And then this border strip that I created, I'm going to trim that down to 3/4 of an inch, excuse me, a 1/2 inch by 4 1/4. I'm kind of strategically placing those hearts so that I don't slice any of them in half. Okay, let's start building the card. I've got a regular A2 card base, and I'm going to put that white panel down that I've inked with the oxides with Tombow tape runner. And then I'll add that mix-in paper at the base. And that border strip. And kind of cover up the seam there. Okay. So I've got some of this foam tape that's left over from shaker cards, and I'm going to pop some of my elements using the foam tape. And I'm just going to kind of play around with the position of my different elements on the card. And I think I'll put that cluster of leaves down first before I put my popped element down. Okay, I like the way that looks. And sometimes it takes a little fussing, and fortunately you can pick things up and move them carefully. And then I felt like I wanted to tuck in and cover up some of that area that I had fussy cut. It looked a little choppy, so I decided I would add some more leaves in there. And so I'm just taking my leaf cluster and I'm trimming it so I can have what I want in that space. So I think that's going to work. So we'll go ahead and tuck that in. Get that glued down with a little tape runner. And then we'll go on with creating our little cluster of embellishments. So I have this other stamp. It's got little circles, and I want to stamp on my card, and I'm going to use Wisteria ink. So it's going to kind of be behind the flowers. I'm going to lay things out first and figure out where I'm going to stamp first. And I'm just trimming my embellishments as needed. You don't have to keep them the way that the stamp is. You can always trim them down and use what you want. I'm going to slide that flower underneath there. That's what I meant about picking up some things and moving them around. And I think that's going to work there. Okay, so now I'm going to stamp these little circles in the yellow area. It's a little hard to see, but I'll have some close-up shots at the end. So you'll see it. And then I'll just continue adding all of my pieces. All right, I think I like the way that looks. We'll finish adding all of these. All right. And then for the last step, I'm going to add some liquid pearls This color is called Lavender Lace. It's so pretty. If you squeeze it out directly into the circle vertically, you'll get perfectly shaped dots, pearls. So there's my finished card. So all of these supplies are currently available in my online store. I will make a list with links in the description below. And I appreciate you watching my video today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. And thanks for watching.